Thank you. Moving on to continuing coverage. A Rockford officer who shot and injured a suspect last month will not face charges. Winnebago County State's Attorney Marilyn Height-Ross says Officer Dominic McNeese's use of force was justified in the shooting of Tyrus Jones.
At the time that Officer McNeese discharged his weapon, he also was aware that suspect Tyrus Jones was also being investigated for a murder offense that had occurred on September 26.
Last week, a grand jury returned a bill of indictment for first-degree murder charges against Jones for that murder. Jones was shot 3 times on October 2nd, including at least once in the back. Height-Ross says McNeese was justified because he believed Jones had a weapon and posed a threat to the community, even though no weapon was ever found. Height-Ross pointed to a Supreme Court ruling on officers' use of force and the understanding investigators should use when examining their actions.
And its calculus must embody an allowance for the fact that police officers are often forced to make split-second decisions about the amount of force necessary in a particular situation.
Jones also faces charges from that police chase and shooting. Height-Ross says a grand jury indicted Jones on charges of attempted vehicular hijacking and aggravated fleeing to elude a police officer. Jones was earlier charged with first-degree murder, domestic battery, and unlawful use of a weapon. Jones is still on the loose after posting bond for some of the previous charges. Rockford Police Chief Dan O'Shea responded to the recent announcement in a statement that says in part, quote, "Now that the state's attorney's office has rendered the decision advising the officer's actions were lawful, we will begin our internal administrative review of the incident."
Meanwhile, a group of activists against police brutality held a news conference after the state's attorney's decision, condemning her for not charging Officer McNeese.
Instead of treating Tyrus Jones as a victim on South Main and Harrison, the Winnebago County State's Attorney Marilyn Height-Ross, the Rockford Police Department, and the Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force has chosen to criminalize Tyrus Jones and to politicize his shooting on October 2nd.
The May 30th Alliance says the fact that Jones did not have a weapon and was shot in the back should have been enough to charge McNeese. One of its members, Leslie Rolfe, accuses the city and county of condoning police violence, and he asked the community to take a stand.
Will you find empathy and look for justice for the next person who is a victim of police brutality, for the next person who is shot, for the next person who dies in custody? What kind of character does that person need to have for you to find empathy for them?
Rolfe says videos of the shooting should be released. The state's attorney says she will not do that before the case goes to court.